Hello Steelers, and welcome to this very special and for me very exciting video in which I'm going to be playing Algernon Pulls It Off. And if you're unaware of this, this is a very rare, hard to find these days, version of Bag the Hun by the Two Fat Lardies, but set in the First World War. I mentioned it in the past, my great love in military history is First World War aeroplanes, so this is a great chance to play a Two Fat Lardies game on the tabletop with some of my favourite aircraft. Even better than that, I've been in touch with Rich over at Two Fat Lardies, and because this is so difficult to get hold of, because normally it's just passed around as a PDF, you can't get it on the Two Fat Lardies website, I asked him if I would be able to share this as part of this video, and he said yes, absolutely. And so this video is in association with the Two Fat Lardies. Now, the way you can get it is if you check the description below this video, you'll see I've put a link to my Google Drive, which also has a load of other Algernon Pulls It Off material in there. You can just download it, so you can download the PDF from there. I've printed this one from Docs Direct. But I've also put in stuff like a quick reference sheet that I've made, also the Algernon's his manoeuvre manual as well, so you can print those off as play aids. I've also put in a ton of aircraft data sheets as well for aircraft that I've got. I also managed to get hold of a later updated aircraft sheet as well that's got all the details on, and I'll put those in. Let me just say that the aircraft data sheet that is in there is in a Word document. If you download it on Google Drive, it looks like it's messed up, but if you have tried it, if you download it to your Microsoft Word, it actually sorts itself out, so don't panic too much. On top of this, also, the great man that is Jim Weir, who sent me a load of 1/300th scale aircraft in the first place for Algy, as a thank you for putting on a game at Virtual Lard that he took part in. He's also agreed to share the cards that he made as well, which I have a couple of here. So they're all in there, they're all in a Word document as well. You can mess about with those and make your own if you want, or use Jim's. His are specific to specific units, but anybody with half a brain can work out how to make some different cards. I did it, so you should be able to do it. And as I say, this is all massive thanks to not only Two Fat Lardies, but also to Jim Weir as well. This is, as I say, the smaller, younger brother of the Bag the Hun rules. So I would very much recommend getting over to the Two Fat Lardies, buying yourself a copy of Bag the Hun. If nothing else, just to say thank you to Rich for allowing us to get these out to you. I know a lot of people have been clamouring about these over the last few weeks. I've been posting pictures of my aircraft, so I know there's a lot of people that's interested in that. And as I say, go over, get yourself a copy of the Bag the Hun. It's about 20-25 quid. It'll put some money back into the Two Fat Lardies, and you get a set of rules for free. The only reason I say to buy the Bag the Hun stuff is because some of the things that are in Algy are kind of expanded on in Bag the Hun, so it just gives you a bit of a better idea, because I think these are only about, I think it's 35 pages, yeah, 35 pages in total. So, you know, it's not particularly in-depth rules, and it's expected that you should know how to play Bag the Hun already, so some of the concepts are not going into any great depth, so you're better off getting something with a bit of background. As I say, put some money into the Two Fat Lardies coffers. If you've already got Bag the Hun, go and buy something else. Just buy the latest Two Fat Lardies special. So, without further ado, I'll talk a little bit about the game. I'm going to play the game. I'm going to play it as a basic dogfight. This is actually only my third game of this. I was introduced to Algernon by Jeremy Short at the Steel Lard 2019 Games Day, and it was the first time I played Algy. It's the first time I played Bag the Hun, in fact. At that time I had no idea what I was doing, but it was a great game, real good fun. And so thanks to Jeremy for introducing to me, and it was Jeremy that provided me with a PDF anyway. So this is my third game of Algy. I've actually only played the one at Steel Lard. I played one last week, but unfortunately, and I'd filmed it, unfortunately when I transferred the files over to the computer, for some reason they got deleted. They were completely gone, so this is my second attempt at filming it and also my second attempt at playing it. But it's a pretty simple game compared to Bag the Hun, for example, and that really reflects the period that it's set in, because it's First World War. There's no radios, very little radar equipment, all those kind of things. So the rules are really pared back, but they work very well, and they are different enough from Bag the Hun to make it feel period and much more chaotic. So for example, in Bag the Hun, each side has one card for all of their aircraft that they operate on. In Algernon pulls it off, each aircraft has its own individual card that they operate on. So it gets a lot more chaos driven once you start breaking formations up. And just one more thing to mention here, Jim Weir did send me the aircraft as a thank you for putting on a show for him. Now unfortunately I did ask him if he would be prepared to share the STO files, and he was quite reticent about it, simply because he said he didn't want them to be stolen. It's all his work. Absolutely on board with that. That's his decision, and I've got no issue with it because he doesn't want somebody making money off his hard work. That said, you can get a lot of 1/300 scale aircraft from places like Skytrex, Navwar I think do them, Heroics and Ross do them here in the UK, so there's quite a lot out there. Also, I would have a look at paint and glue. Gary does 3D printed models, and he told me the other day that he just printed out a load of 1/300 scale First World War aircraft. He does sell 1/1/4 scale aircraft on his website. They're already up and advertised, and I've got some of his BE2Cs, and they're excellent. They're really nice kits, nice models. So I would go and contact him, send him an email, and ask him how much he's selling the things for, and you'll be able to get yourself some Algy stuff very quickly, very cheaply, and they will look great as well. So I said I'd say that in this and just give him a shout out. So go and check him out, Gary over at Paint and Glue here in the UK, and he will provide you with all the aircraft goodness. So here are the aircraft that I'm going to be playing with in this game. I've got 3 Albatross D5As, and I've also got 3 SE5As as well. So this is just a basic Dogfight scrap, and these are the ones that I was sent by Jim. The flight stands I've made myself from acrylic rods, and also hexagons that I got off eBay, along with some dice holders that came from Pendraken, and some stickers that I got on eBay as well. You can make all of these for pretty cheap. I will put again details in the description for links for these various bits and pieces, but if you look at one of my latest hobby updates, I talk about making these things anyway, so it's dead easy to do, just a bit of blob of super glue and a magnet on top. So these are the aircraft sheets that you can see in front of us here. So as I say, we've got the 3 Albatross and 3 SE5s. What I've done is I've given 2 regular pilots to each flight, and also a top ace to each flight as well. They have an extra +2 modifier on most of their look rolls. We'll go through each of these as well. So we've got speed. So this is how many hexes it will move at least, and then you get a D4 on top of that depending on your pilot skill, so similar to Bag the Hun. A robustness, when it's being shot at, this is how many dice you remove from the firer. In manoeuvrability, again, this is when you're being shot at, so how good you are. It also counts as well for people getting on your tail as well. So we've got 9 for the Albatross, 11 speed for the SE5, so they're slightly faster. Albatross is more robust with a 2 against the 1. Manoeuvrability is the same for both of these on 4. We also have a ceiling. In Bag the Hun you only have 6 bands of ceiling, however in Algy you have 12, well 13 including 0, which is the ground. So this is why I've got 2 dice holders for these, because you may go up to 12 and you're just using the dice to show where your ceiling is. Then you've got your size of the aircraft, that just adds for, again, being shot at. And then they've got the climb and their dive speed, so this is how many they can go up and down in a turn. So 2 and 2 for the Albatross, and then 2 and 3 for the SE5s. These are not actually included in the original PDF, so that's why I've included the extra aircraft stats as well as part of the whole bundle that you can get your hands on. Then we have the fire factor, so again similar to Bag the Hun. So it's 3 for both of these, so that's basically like, you know, a double machine gun. So the Albatross has got 2 Maxims, I believe, and then also we've got the Vickers and the Lewis gun that's mounted on an SE5A. And then, interestingly, different to Bag the Hun, we have how many seconds of fire they have. So you can actually fire up to 8 seconds in a burst of firing, and you've got, each aircraft has 40, so that's about what, 5 8-second bursts, but that's if you're on the tail and you are really close. However, most of your firing is probably going to be quite lower. So this is quite different to Bag the Hun. You will always be taking ammunition off. It's not a case of you may not take some ammunition off in Bag the Hun, for example, if you're a good enough ace. So I think that pretty much covers the aircraft and their data sheets. What I'll show you now here is these are the cards, and as I say, these ones are from Jim Weir. These are also included in the bundle down below. These are the backs. If you just, all I've done is I've printed out a front and printed out the back. I've double-sided them and then just laminated them and cut them out, so I've got an instant set of cards. So this is the initial set. So we have German top ace there. They've got bolt, altitude, bonus move, a tally-ho card and a flying circus card. These are the obviously RFC and for the Germans, and these are for anybody who's in a formation or recognisable formation, because that's another thing, that there are no real formations like there is in Bag the Hun. It doesn't really go into great detail because obviously this is the time of development when they're still trying to work out aerial tactics. So that's for anyone that's in formation. Same again with the Ket. So we have German Ket fire, we have a British flight, and German Ket move and the British flight move. And these again are just for when they're in formations. And as I say, it gets a lot more chaotic than Bag the Hun, simply because as soon as you break formation, you start to put in the individual aircraft's cards. So I've got them here. I just took these pictures from the internet for my cards, and you can see each one has a German 1, move and fire, German 2, move and fire, and these will go in as they break formation. And you pretty much, as soon as you get fired at, you break formation. And because they haven't got radios, they literally find it very difficult to actually operate together. So, as I say, the game gets incredibly chaotic very quickly. Right, so what I'll do is I'll set up. I've already rolled just to see what height these both of these flights were at. The Germans are up on 7 and the British are on 5. I'll just get these set up on the table and we'll crack on with the game. So one thing I didn't mention is that normally you would use blinds in this and bogies, same as in Bag the Hun, but for this game I'm not. I'm just having them set up already. It's just, it seems a bit daft when you're playing solo, because I don't really know what the bogies are anyway. But when you're playing against other people, it's always worthwhile having bogies of flying around, because they don't know what it is. So we play the game by basically pulling the cards. So the first card is the British Flight 1 move. So this is just them moving. They have to move on this card. This is not a bonus or anything. So because they're still in formation, they will fly on. So I said the British are in formation, and they're in a rough formation here, basically an echelon, a staggered echelon. This is, you know, a typical flight really for the First World War. You can pretty much use anything you want as long as it's a rough formation. They are on 5 for their altitude, and they want to climb because the Germans are up on 7. Now, to climb under 6 altitude, it costs you 3 forward movements. If you climb over that, so from 6 upwards or 7 upwards, then it's going to cost you, or 7 beyond, should I say up to 7, it's going to cost you 4 forward movements. And the way we do this anyway is we set our throttles. Normally you would roll a d4 for the individual aircraft, but because we've got a top ace, he can actually set his throttle at whatever he wants, so he can add up to 4 onto his speed, so that will take them up to 15 if they want. And we're going to climb. So the first climb is going to cost them, they move forward 1, and this will cost them 3 movements. And then he's going to climb again, and as I say, because this is going to take them up to 7, that's going to cost him 4 movements. So he's already used up 7 by just going forward anyway. So it's 3 to climb to 6, and then 4 to climb to 7. So that means he still now has another 4 left of his speed. No, 8 left of his speed, because he's got 15 in total he can use up, because he wants to set his throttle at 15. So he's already used up 7. We have another 8, so I want to get him up here turning towards the Germans. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, and then do a basic turn. 4, so he turns there. 5, 6, 7 and 8. So he will be there, and then we move the others into position of his formation, because they haven't broken, so they are here as here, and I will add their dice and just put them up to the next level as well. Alright, our next card is the altitude bonus move. So this goes normally to whoever is in the highest altitude band, and this is a bonus move, they don't have to take it. However, they're both on the same altitude, so the rules say whoever's got the most top aces, they both got the same amount of aces. Whoever's got the most junior aces, they both got the same amount of junior aces, none. Then I will usually go to manoeuvrability, but both of their aircraft are the same manoeuvrability. So from there on in, I'm just going to roll a dice and just see who gets the altitude bonus. So blue is British, red is German. So the British have got a 5, the Germans have got 3, so that gives the British, in this case, their altitude bonus. So you can probably make out here the Germans have yet to move, they're still up here, the British are kind of heading towards them. I want to get them side slipped ever so slightly to the right. This is going to cost 5, same as Bag the Hun, every manoeuvre is either easy, tricky or hard, and if it's a difficult or a tricky one you'll have to test to stay in formation and also to actually do it as well. This is a easy manoeuvre. A side slip, so these are regular and an ace, so these can all do this quite easily, and a side slip just goes 1, 2, 3, but that costs them 5, so he's got another 10 that he can use up, so I'm going to put him forward another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and then do it again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so he side slipped a little, and then yet again we just put these guys up with him in formation. Right, and then our next card, it's the tally-ho card, so the British get another move. This only goes, it's a bonus move once again for any British aircraft that are in a recognisable formation, and in this case again the SE5s are in a recognisable formation. Okay, what you might have noticed here is I've just actually drawn the aircraft back. This is a nice thing about hex map, is I've just shifted everything 10 hexes this way to give me a bit more room, because the SE5As were heading towards that German line. That's the nice thing about having the open air, you can pretty much go everywhere you want. If an aeroplane is trying to escape off the map, then I'll not move it, but as it is, because we've not yet reached combat, I'm going to move it about. But anyway, we've got the bonus move for the British with their tally-ho card. So yet again we can set our throttle up to 15, and obviously he's going to at this point, because I want to try to get them in behind those Germans to get on their tail and do some fighting there. So I think they're just going to head forward. The range is only actually 5 hexes because it's only machine guns, so it's not like Bag the Hun where you can hit anything at any range, but obviously the further away it's much more difficult. With this you've only got 5 hexes, you really need to get in close. So with that in mind, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, I'm going to come to 14 I think, and then 15 to there. He just doesn't have enough to actually get into a line of sight of his enemy, but I'm going to bring these guys forward, and so they are still in. At least 2 and 3 are opposite each other, but they are just out of range because that's only 5 hexes there. And then we have the German Kette move. So this is again a formation. So this is all the Germans. Once they're in combat and they've broken up in combat, then there is not going to be, this card can be ignored because they can't get back into formation. But right now this is their chance to move. Right, so we've got the Germans. Yeah, again, I've shifted everybody over, so I'm not stretching over the table. But I've also got it's the Germans' turn, so they are going to set their throttle at 4, which gives them a speed of 13 in total. Slightly slower the albatross, but obviously more robust. So this is the ace, and I want to get him round somewhere around here so I can at least get onto one of these guys' tails, because that's going to give me the best chance of shooting one of them down. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then 13 to there. Now, these will retain their formation, or at least he will there, number 3. However, number 2 is going to end up on this British guy, and that means he's going to have to actually get pushed forward, but it does go put him in a good position for firing if his card comes up. But we have to see if there is a collision between those two aeroplanes. On an 11 or 12 on 2d6 there is a collision. 9, no there isn't, so at least he's managed to escape that, scraped away. Right, next up. Well, perfect timing for the Germans. So it's a German Keta 1 fire, so now they can fire. However, I mentioned that German number 2 is now out of formation, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put German 2's aircraft cards into the deck, so when they get shuffled he will then be moving on those cards. So as I said, because the rules are kind of they're the big brother of Bag the Hun, they're not completely fleshed out if they were a proper commercial set. So it's a little bit confusing as to what to do in this situation. He is now out of formation, but I'm allowing him to fire on the German Ket fire card, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to fire at all this turn. So I'm going to allow him to fire at least, because he's in a good position. He's just come out of that. So I'm going to show you how we do firing. Because he's coming at a rear deflection here, he's allowed up to 5 seconds worth of firing at the SE5A. So he's going to do that. So first of all, we mark off our 5 seconds of firing out of his 40, and then we add our fire factor, which for the albatross is 3 for its front fire factor, so this is 3 dice. We then also add any other dice to this pool. He's firing 5 seconds of fire, so that is going to give him an extra 2 dice, so that takes him up to 5 already. He is also dead close, 1 hex away, so that adds another 3 as well. We add his luck, because he's regular, that's 0, so we don't add anything to it. But then we also add the size of the target over 1, and the SE5A has a size of, I don't know if you can see it on there, it has a size of 2, so that's basically another 1 because of the size of the aircraft. So in total there we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Now if he was on the tail, he'd be able to fire 8 second bursts, and also he would get a bonus for being on the tail as well. He's not, because he's just coming to the side like that. So in defence, the British aircraft gets its manoeuvrability dice, so that's 4 we start with, and then we also get the distance between the target and the firer, so that's always going to be 1 at least, plus any others, so that's 1d6, and then also his luck as well, and because he's regular he doesn't have any extra bonuses. And then we roll the dice. We're looking for 5s and 6s. The firer, if they get any 1s, if they get more 1s than they get 5s and 6s, then their guns are jammed, and they have to ignore a fire card to unjam, or try to unjam them. So let's just see what happens anyway. So we're looking for 5s and 6s. Let's take out the 1s as well, so there's a 1 there. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Aces can also ignore 1s as well, so again same as Bag the Hun really. So we've got 4 hits in total. The 2s and the 3s there we ignore. The 1 on its own, because it's there's more 5s and 6s than 1s, we can ignore that 1 as well. And then we roll the defence dice, and same again, looking for 5s and 6s. So we've got 1, 6, and all the rest are ignored. So that is a net hit of 3 by the German. So what we have to do then is we check the damage chart, and this is on my QRS here, you can see here, and it has a target robustness of 1. So we had 3 hits, and I don't know if you can see this on the screen there, but that's a C, and a C is critical damage. So then what we do is we flip it over, and we roll again on the critical damage chart, which is here, and this is 2d6. We've also got extra critical damage, really critical damage, sorry, and then extra critical damage. So we roll 2d6 and hope for the best for the British. So that's 8, and 8 is the pilot is hit. So he's automatically thrown off an opponent's tail, he's not on one. But we roll again and then we adjust for luck. Because he's a regular, we don't add anything to this. Well, let's just see what happens. If it's 2 or less, he is killed. Oh, there you go, first kill. That is a kill. So if he's killed, obviously the plane goes down and the Germans have claimed their first kill. Bloody good shooting. So the British have just lost Captain Butler, so there's going to be an empty seat back at the mess tonight. And because he was between the 2 aircraft, that has basically broken their formation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick the 2 British aircraft cards into the mix. Obviously get rid of British 2 because he's gone now, and then 3 is in there as well. He will now do, his aircraft will descend 2 hexes, 2 bands per turn until it hits the ground. So it's still there potentially to collide into somebody if somebody is stupid enough to go fly through him. Anyway, it's our next card. And the next card is the German Flying Circus. So this is a bonus move for the Germans. I think they're probably going to use it because 2 of them at least are still in formation. So they're going to try to use this to get in again around those British and try and take another one out before the game's even started. So the German ace and his pal, number 3, are going to try to flip around and get in behind number 3 if they can. So we're going to do some easy turns here. I think this is probably the easiest way to do this. So for the easy turn, we just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then he's got one more, 13. This guy was on his left, so he ends up here. Is he actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So he is actually in range just with that British aircraft there. So if his fire card comes up, well, it's already come up anyway, but if it did come up, he would be able to get a few rounds off at him. Right, our next card. This is the British Flight Fire. They are just they're not even facing towards the Germans, so there's no point even. Just ignore that, we move on. And next up, it's the German top ace. So this is a bonus for the German top ace. He can take this or not. This could be a move or it could be a fire. He wants to remain in formation with the guy he's with, and he's not able to fire at the moment, so I'm going to ignore that for the German this time. And our next card it's the British top ace. So this is the last card of the turn. So he's actually going to take this because he's no longer in formation now. So again, this is a bonus move or fire. He can't fire, so this is going to be a bonus move for him. Okay, as he's an ace, he can do hard manoeuvres and he doesn't have to test for them, so he's going to. So we're going to do a wing over. So he goes forward 1. And again, he can set his throttle at anything he wants, up to 15 for the SE5. So a wing over costs him 5 pips, so that just literally flips him round like this. And then he's going to come forward, but I want to do a side slip to get in to the side of this German here, and that's going to cost him another 5 pips. So I'll go 1, 2, 3, so that's 10 so far. He's got to move at least 11 because that's his minimum speed, so that will bring him to there. And then he's going to go 1 more to take him up to 12 just to get in there, just in case his fire card comes up before the Germans get a chance to move. Okay, so I've shuffled the deck, and this has now got those extra cards in because everybody is pretty much out of formation apart from the German and his wingman. So again, we just work our way through and see what we get. So British Fight 1 Fire. They are no longer in formation, so this no longer counts for them because it's a flight, not an individual card. So I'm just going to remove that from the deck anyway. It's a bit of a shame because that was being perfect for the British ace. And then we have the German 2 move. So this is not the German ace, this is the guy who's already shot one person down, so he's going to probably try to get round and behind on the back of one of the other British chaps. So let's see what he does with that. So this is our number 2 pilot here, and he's moving, he's regular, so he has to set his throttle at whatever the dice is. So it's a 4, so that gives him 13 movement points. So he's going to do a tricky manoeuvre of doing a hard turn through this guy who is already, I've already turned his altitude band down because he was at the end of the turn. I'm just going to keep dropping him. He's going down in a straight dive. So he's going to do a tricky manoeuvre. He's regular, so he doesn't have to test for it. So he's going to go 1 to there, then turn there, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So that'll bring him to here. I'm just going to put a dice down as well to remember where I am at this point, because he's used up 6 out of his 13 moves at this point. I want to get him, try to get him round here if I can. So 7, then go 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's just not made it. I'm not going to allow them to plot out their moves. They either get there where they get there, because you know it's the frantic nature of aerial combat. So he's not got into position to be able to get on his tail, unfortunately, this turn. And next up, it's Flying Circus. So this is a bonus move for the Germans who are still in a formation, and they are still in formation. But I don't know. I don't know if it's a good use of the card at this point. It might be worthwhile just getting them away from the British ace that's bearing down on the German. So I am going to use it just to get that formation out and safe. So we have our ace here. He can control his speed, as we said before, so he doesn't have to mess about with it. So he's going to use obviously all 4, so that will take him up to 13. I think, well, up to 13. So let's just see. I want to get him in behind number 3 if I can. So I'm going to try to get him somewhere in here. This is going to be quite difficult because it's quite a tight area to get into, which is a shame for him. Unless I brought him round and got him behind the ace as well. That's another possibility. So I think let's try that instead. So go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12. And then this guy is retaining his formation. That's a tricky manoeuvre, so he doesn't have to test because he's regular. So he is now actually on with him still. I can't believe they're still in formation at this point, to be honest, but here we are. As soon as they get fired at, they will break formation. So we're able now to get on the tail potentially of the British ace. So an ace is trying to get on the tail of an ace. So we roll a d6 for this, and we basically need a 4 or above as a basic roll. Let's put this here. But we have to do a test for it. So I'll just go through this just because it's the first time it's done. If the defender's plane is more manoeuvrable than the target, no, they're both the same. That would be a -1. If the attacker is a top ace, which he is, so that's a +3. If the target is a top ace, it's a -3, so that blanks itself out. If they're attacking out of the sun, I forgot to say it's cloudy today, I forgot about the sun. If the attacker's plane is damaged, it's a -1. If the target plane is damaged, it's a +1. And also if the line of attack is covered by an active gunner, it's a -1. So it's a straight roll. He needs 4 or above, and if he does, he gets on his tail, and then he will move when the British chap moves. And this is the best position to be in this game, because he will be able to fire off 8 seconds worth of fire into him and do a lot more damage. You watch, I've said all this, it'll probably not even come up as a 4 or above. So it's 50-50 chance. What have we got? 6. Hey, he's on the tail. One thing I have noticed in a couple of games of this, to remember who's on whose tail, I've been using some little chits like this, so we know that red is on red. So now wherever the British ace moves, he will have to try to do some manoeuvres to get him off the tail, and we'll go through that when he does that. But if the German fire card comes up soon, then he's in trouble. So our next card, it's a British 3 fire. He's got nobody in his fire corridor, so we ignore that. Just move on. Next one. It's a British top ace, and this is the guy who's been tailed. So he's going to try to do some hard manoeuvres now. He can only do 1 hard manoeuvre maximum per turn, but he can do a couple of tricky manoeuvres to try and throw that tail off. Okay, right. As I said, we want to try to do a hard manoeuvre for the British pilot. So I'm just looking at the back of the manoeuvre charts here, and we can do things like Immelmann's, loops, wings over, split S, snap turns, that kind of thing. So what he's going to try to do is a split S actually. That will have him end up facing that way. But he drops his altitude by 1. So because he's an ace, he can do this anyway. So he just comes forward, flips over. That's his split S. So he is now at 6 instead. And that has cost him 5 pips of movement out of his potential 15. So now I need to test for the albatross to see if he can do it, if he can stay on his tail, and same with him to see if he stays in formation with it. So this is, let's say, a hard manoeuvre for both of these. Staying on the tail, he needs to do, if the target performs a hard manoeuvre, he needs a 5 or above to stay on the tail. He's an ace, so he gets a +2 for that, top ace, so he needs a 3 or above to stay on his tail. Let's just see. No, he hasn't. So he is broken off from them, so that means he will no longer be on the tail as well, because he's following this guy. So the British guy has actually managed to get him off the tail, so he just stays where he is, and then the British chap still has another. Oh, how many had we got? We've used 5 up, so he's actually got 10 more. He can't climb because he did a dive this turn, but he can climb next turn. So let's just get him moved out of the way. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then I put him there, 10. Just to end him up there, so he's basically jinx underneath him and then come back round as well. Right, next card. So British Flight 1, we can ignore that because they are now broken formation completely, so I'll just get rid of that out of the way. And altitude bonus. So again, we see who's the highest. The Germans and the British are both in altitude band 7. However, the Germans have got 1 top ace in altitude 7, whereas the British have got his in 6. So the Germans will get the altitude bonus move. So it can be for anybody, but it just counts because they've got an ace up there. I forgot to mention as well, the ace and the 3, these two guys are now broken formation, so I'll put their cards into the deck ready to shuffle at the end of this turn. But for now we're going to allow the German ace here, his manoeuvres to try to get in, and probably try to get in on number 3 here. So let's have a go. He's now got 13 to play with, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and then 12 will bring him right behind the British guy here, number 3. Now unfortunately for the British guy, he's regular and the German is a top ace, so we're going to see if he can get on his tail again. So as I say, this is really what the game is about getting on the tail. He needs a 4 or above. The planes have equal manoeuvrability, but we've got a top ace trying to get on the tail of a regular, so it's a +3 and he needs a 4 or above, so basically he can't not get on his tail. So a 3 + 3 is a 6, so yes, he's on that tail again. So hopefully waiting for his card to come up so he can fire at him. As I said, I put the German 1 and 3 cards, sorry, into there now. They'll operate on those in the next turn. So our next card is British number 1. This is our ace, so this is his chance to get back up to where the other guys are and hopefully again get on somebody else's tail so he can at least have a pop at them. Okay, so he's going to climb 1, so that moves him forward 1, but it also loses him 4 movements because he's gone from band 6 to 7, so he now has another 11 speed he can use. I want to try to get him round here somewhere. I think I'm at the wrong angle to get him, so he might be able to sweep in around here and get in behind number 2 over here. So let's just see if we can do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I'm just going to have to turn him here 11 just so I can at least stay tight within that group. And our next card up This is British 3 moves, so this is the guy who is being tailed, so he's going to have to try to do a tricky manoeuvre, but because he's regular, or a hard manoeuvre to throw the ace off, but because he's regular, he's going to have to test for that, so I don't fancy his chances. Let's see what he does. So first of all, he's not an ace, so we've got to roll for his throttle, so that's a 3, so that gives him 14 speed. What I'm going to try to do with him is I'm going to try to loop, so this is a hard manoeuvre, so he goes 1 forward, and it's going to use up 6 of his movement if he passes it. So he needs a 4 or above to do this because he's regular. So let's just see if he passes it. If he doesn't, he just flies straight forward as his normal speed. So 5, yes, he's passed it. So that's used up 6 of his speed out of his, what do we say, 14. So he's got another 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to test where he ends up. He can't do any more hard manoeuvres, but he can go 1, 2, I'll tell you what, actually no, because he's going to do some tricky manoeuvres. I'm going to see if the ace can actually stay on his tail. The ace needs a 5 or above with a +3, I think it is, or is it a plus? Yes, I think it's a plus. I don't know, because it says that aces get a +2 for luck, but also they get a +3 for a lot of the other things. So I don't know if it's a +2 or a +3, to be honest. I gave him a +3 last time, so I'm going to stick with that. +3, he needs a 5 or above to stay on the tail. 2 + 3 is, I mean, that seems about right really, to be honest, an ace getting on his tail. So yes, he's managed to do it, so that's him there. And now he's going to have to try to do some tricky manoeuvres instead of hard manoeuvres, because he can't really do much else. So he's just going to do a couple of hard turns. So let's just see, we've got he's on 11, 14, he's already used up his 6, so that gives him 8. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then just come forward 7, 8. So a hard turn around there. So again, the ace is going to need to stay on his tail doing that tricky manoeuvre, but this time he needs a 4 or above. He can't actually get less than 1 because he's got a +3, so he stays on the tail anyway. So his best chance was with that loop, but the ace is on him still, unfortunately, bearing down. And then our next card is a German top ace. So this is a bonus, so the German can either use this to move or fire. If he moved, he would break off from his tail. Obviously he's going to fire. So the ace gets to choose how many seconds worth of bursts he wants to put into this SE5A. He's going to use all of them, so he's going to put 8 seconds worth of fire into him. So we're starting with our fire factor of 3 anyway, and then we also add the fact that he's dead close, so that gives him +3 because he's only 1 hex away from him. We also add the size of the target, so that's another 1 as well on top of that. And he is a top ace, so that adds him another 3, and then his 8-second firing burst gives him another 5 dice on top of that. So how many we got? 5, 10, 15 in total. So that's quite a good number. The defense dice, so he's got a manoeuvrability of 4, so that's his 4 dice, and then he is 1 away, and he doesn't get anything for his luck, so he's only got 5 in defence. So same again, 5s and 6s are hits, 1s, could cause jams. Because he's an ace, he can ignore 1, 1. So let's just have a look. Anyway, oh god, there's a lot of 5s and 6s in there. And no 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hits. That is 11 hits, not a single one, so we get rid of those. So you can only save a maximum of 5 of these, so this is not looking good for that SE5A pilot. Let's just have a look. We've got 1, 2, 3 he's saved, and a 4 and a 1, so we ignore those. So get rid of 3 out of that German's pile, and that gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hits. We have a target robustness of 1, so we check 8 hits is an X. An X is extra bad critical damage, so this is the worst that it could be. So let's just see, we roll 2d6 and see what happens to him. I don't think, if he survives this, he's going to be an incredibly lucky man. Let's have a look. 9 is catastrophic structural failure. he is going down in flames. So he will now descend 2 range bands every turn and just fly forward, I believe. Let me just double check that because I can't remember it off the top of my head, but literally that's another kill for the Germans. I mean, yeah, he just goes down, so he's dead. That's another one out, gone. So number 3 is gone. So the albatross is no longer on his tail, so I will just take those off. And bad luck for the RFC today. Right, next card. It's German number 2 fire. There's nobody in his firing corridor, unfortunately for him, so he can't fire at anybody. So we go straight on the next card. It is the German Kette 1 move. They're no longer in formation, so I'm just going to take that out. Then we have German Kette 1 fire. So again, no longer in formation, so I'm just going to remove that. Next card, it's British 1 fire, so this is our British ace. Nobody is in his range of fire, in his corridor either, so let's just move on to the next and the last card. It's a tally-ho card. Again, the British are not in formation anymore, so I'm going to take that out as well. So that ends that turn. I will drop everybody their 2 range bands, who are the ones who are already going down, the dead pilots and the other one who's in flames, and we'll move on to our next turn. So this is how the dogfight currently looks. We've got your man here, he was killed, he's spiralling down towards death and destruction, and we got the other one here who is now on fire and also diving down towards the ground very quickly. We've got our British ace still spinning around. I think he's probably going to start to make a head for home, and we've still got the 3 Germans here, so I think this might be the last chance the Germans get to actually bring this guy down as well and completely destroy the British flight. And let's see what happens in the next turn. So first card, it's a German flying circus. They are no longer in formation, so I can ignore that and get rid of it out of the deck. Next one up is German 3 move. So this is one of our regular pilots. Let's see if he can get in behind the ace and hopefully give him some fire before he disappears off into the setting sun. Right, so setting his throttle first of all. We've got a 4, so he's got to go 13. He needs to try to get in behind him here. I don't think he's going to do it because he's at the wrong angle of deflection really, but let's just see if he can make it. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13. So he's almost there but not quite. Right, next up. British 3 fire. British 3 man is dead, so take that out of the deck completely. So next up it's the altitude bonus move. So the British and the German aces are both at the same height. They've both got the same manoeuvrability. I don't know on this one because there are more Germans in the air now than there are British, so I'm actually going to give it to the Germans, to be honest, simply because there's more of them. That's all it is, there's just more of them. So that bonus move, it's going to be our German here. He's going to go 1, 2 and side slip first of all. So we're using the ace, so he doesn't need to test for that. So that's used up 5 of his movement. And then he's going to go 6, 7, 8, 9 and another hard turn to bring him in 10 there. So that has... he can set his speed at what he likes, so he's going to set it at 10, and there he is, right on the tail of the British ace. So he gets a chance to have a go at him, see if he can get on his tail, but he needs a 4 or above to do so. Let's have a look. He's on his tail. Is this going to be 3 for 3? Are the British going to get absolutely wiped out here? Okay, next up then. German 1 fire, that's the ace. He's literally in the most perfect position he can be to fire. The cards are literally for the Germans in this one. Right, well let's see if our German ace, Hauptmann Sachs, can get his 2nd kill of the day. This is on the British ace, T. Collins. But let's have a look. I've totted up his dice and he's got 15 again, same as he had before. This time the British guy has got 7 dice in defence though because of his luck factor. Again, as I say, in some cases the ace is given a +3, but also his luck when it comes to luck dice rolls is a +2. So because of that, you've got to make a decision here and there when you're playing these rules. Don't expect a completely polished version of a TFL set of rules that's been play tested to death. This was something that seems to have been, you know, not cobbled together, but put together quite quickly. So there's a few little niggling things here and there. Maybe I've just got an earlier version of it, who knows. But anyway, enough about that. Let's roll these dice. 5s and 6s and 1s. You can ignore the first one. So let's have a look. One, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 1s this time. So we can ignore 1, so that brings them down to 3. Let's see how many 5s and 6s he's got. Far less than last time at least. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. He's still got more 5s and 6s than 1s, so he can ignore those 1s. So now our British ace has got to defend at least 4 of these. He has defended 2 of them, so that is a net hit of 2 against a target robustness of 1. That is a critical hit, so we roll for that. Let's just see what it is. Again, if it's, you know, if it's really high, then there's a good chance he'll shoot him down. He needs like an 11 or a 12 really, but let's just see what we get. Well, he's got a 9, and a 9 is structural damage. Damage to the plane's fabric or wing struts means that it may not perform any hard manoeuvres or dive more than 3 altitude bands without the plane breaking up. Robustness and manoeuvrability are both reduced by 1. Also, if there was an observer, he would be killed, and a crew served weapon closest to the fire is destroyed. Obviously, there isn't one on SE5A. So basically, he can't do any hard manoeuvres now, or dive more than 3 altitude bands in a turn. So I'm going to make a note of this on his card, but at least he's managed to survive that onslaught. Just to point out here that his robustness has been reduced to 0. That means that he still is only just hanging on. If it is reduced another further 1, then it will break up and he is out of the game. So he's hanging on, and he is probably going to try to get home and have some tea and toast. But let's have a look at the next card. It's German 1 move, so this is a German ace. He's on his tail. He's not going to move. He's going to ignore this card because he can, because he's on the tail, so he can ignore that card. Our next card is German top ace. So this is his bonus card for firing or moving, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I think he's going to fire. So he's doing another 8-second burst, which means he's got 15 dice. I've added them up again. So same again. It's exactly the same as last time. He now has 15 seconds worth of firing left, thereabouts, 16 seconds. Anyway, let's have a look at what he does. Any 1s in there? No, not that I can. Well, there's 1 there, so we can ignore that because he's an ace. There's an awful lot of 5s and 6s in there though, so that's not good. Let's just have a look, get all the ones that aren't 5s and 6s out. Let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is exactly not what that British pilot wants, poor old Collins, and we're rolling for him. His defence, he has saved 3 of those, so that's still net hits on the aces part. So let's just get 3 to 3 and then we can work it out. So we've got 5 hits, so that's 5 hits. He is a robustness 0 to 1, so we roll with 3 net hits. On a 3 to 1, sorry, that's a critical damage. I should have read that off. So we roll, sorry, 5 hits, isn't it? 5 hits is 2C, so that's actually bad critical damage. So that's a 7 on bad critical damage. Is plane on fire. Will descend 1 altitude level per turn. On turn 1, a 5 or a 6 is required to extinguish. After that, a 6. After 3 failed attempts, the pilot will leap to his death or burn. Also, an observer leaps to his death as well. So he will descend an altitude level. Obviously, the albatross will be able to follow him down, and then we've got to start rolling to see if we can extinguish that fire. Right, next card is German 2 fire. German 2 has got no target, so he can't use that card. So our next card then is British 1 move. So this is Collins. This is his chance to try to get away. We'll see if he can put his flame out as well, and he will also try to get off the table, I think, at this point. So we've got our British ace. He's on fire. Let's see if we can put it out. 5 or a 6, and he does. No, 3 he doesn't, so he's still on fire, so he's going to need a 6 in the next turn, and then one final turn, and if he doesn't put it out, then he will die. Okay, he can't do any hard manoeuvres because of his aircraft being structurally damaged. However, he's going to try to get around so he can actually get off the table. So the ace is going to stay on him whatever happens, because he's just going to automatically match up with him. He's doing a speed of 11. He can put that up to 15, and he's also going to dive 3 levels as well, so that's actually going to give him 18, because he gets a free, for every level you dive you get a free move forward. So I'm just going to move these first of all. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. He is actually right on the table edge there. So just to show you here, this is where he's ended up, with the ace still on his tail, and he's literally one more turn and he'll be able to get off the table and to safety. But right now he's got that German all over him. Right, the next card up is it's a British top ace. So this is the guy himself. He is going to get off the table, but actually let's just see if he can put his fire out first of all. On a 6 he does. No, he doesn't anyway, but because he's able to move, he uses this as a bonus move, he gets off the table, so that is going to end the game, because the German is not going to pursue him off the table. He's going to break away and head back for home after decimating the British flight. So here we have the situation at the very end of the game. As I say, that British ace, his card just came up, so he will use that to get off the table. The German ace will not follow him off his table edge. I'm not going to move the tables because they are, trying to escape at this point. We've still got the 2 Germans over here buzzing around up at level 7, so they're probably going to start heading for home now. And we've also got your man falling in flames there, just behind them, our number 3, and then also we got the other guy who was killed almost instantly as soon as the action started, who is still tumbling to earth. So the British losses: 2 kills, or 2 losses should I say, 2 kills to the Germans, and also 1 heavily damaged aircraft heading for home, licking his wounds. Well, that's it. That's Algernon pulls it off. That was quite a short game compared to the ones I've played before, but that's largely because of the luck of the dice. The Germans were in the right place at the right time. I did think the Albatrosses would have it particularly difficult against some SE-5As because they're faster aircraft, but obviously it wasn't to be, and the German top aces won out in the end of the day. So he got himself 1 kill, and the other guy got a kill as well. Now if this was a campaign, we'd probably make a note of those and carry them over to the next game, but it's not. It was just a one-off scrap. So as I say, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, do leave me a comment. Do look in the description. You'll find everything you need to start playing this almost immediately, apart from obviously STL files, and you'll need to sort out the cards and things for yourself, and also other bits and pieces. But if you have enjoyed this, please do, as I say, support Two Fat Lardies for pretty much sponsoring this video in a way, with the rules giveaway, and also just enjoy Algy in the future. And I will be playing more games of it at some point, because I've got a lot of aircraft that I'm going to be putting on the table. It's a great little game, easy to set up, easy to put away, and very intuitive. So once more, thank you very much, and stay tuned for more Algy madness in the future.